Hi, I'm Olivia,
Hi, I'm Maggie.
and this is Girls Talk Film.
I never know what to say after we introduce ourselves.
I always, prior to filming every episode, I'm like, what's like a funny joke to throw in? And then we just turn on the camera and start filming, and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't thought of a joke every single time.
Yeah, I literally, it's like I get so awkward. Like once we get into it, I get a little bit better. But
Yeah.
after you say, and this is Girls Talk Film, I feel like there's a gun pointed at me. I'm like, okay, what do I say now? Like it's just so weird. So what's new with you, Olivia?
Well, nothing much is new with me personally. What I do want to discuss is a big announcement that was made last week that I feel like affects me personally very much. And I'm
Okay.
sure it affects a lot of people out there personally very much. A24 is producing an Elden Ring movie.
Is it bad to say I don't even know what Elden Ring is?
That's fine. You're normal.
Okay.
Elden Ring,
Good.
for those who don't know, Elden Ring is the best video game ever created. It was made by From Software. It's a Souls-like game. If you're at all into gaming, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's my personal favorite game of all time. I have put over 500 hours of my life into it, which is kind of an insane amount of time to spend on a video game. And coming from someone who has spent genuine months playing Elden Ring and also seen most A24 films, I feel like this news was directly made for me.
Okay.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous about it.
You're protective.
Like the visuals of the game are so incredible and so unique and striking. And right now, Alex Garland is attached to direct. And I like Alex Garland, but he's never really handled a project like this before. And I'm nervous. Like I know the big new thing now is video game movies, and I feel like all of these great video game properties are getting snatched up by studios, and I just feel like Elden Ring is one of the ones that we should have just let stay a game.
I understand that. I'm not a gamer, like, really at all.
Fair enough.
Unless you count, like, Mario Kart.
Okay, but I love Mario Kart.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
yeah.
who doesn't? But that's, like, kind of the limit to my video game knowledge.
Completely fair.
But-
You're in good company.
Yeah, but I totally get the, like, when you are super passionate about, like, a certain, like, book or video
Yeah.
game or, like, TV show, and they're like, we're going to make it into a movie. You're like, yeah, but just don't mess it up. Like,
Don't mess it up. And it's just, I don't know, it's such a crazy game. And it's such a, I don't know, there's so much going on in the game, like lore wise and also just like production design wise, that like I really don't know how they're going to adapt it into a film. And I honestly don't think that any kind of film adaptation, like regardless of how competently it was made, is going to really do it justice. Like I just don't think it's the kind of game that lends itself easily to an adaptation.
so basically you're just, like, waiting for this to fail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll shock you.
I really hope so. But like when I saw that announcement, my heart sunk.
Yeah, especially like A24, I feel like lately have kind of like, I don't want to say bitten off more than they can chew.
Oh,
because they make
yeah.
amazing movies. They come out with amazing movies, but like sometimes it's a real like hit or miss. We were talking about that like a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
And so I feel like a few years ago, if it was like, oh, A24 is doing it, you knew it was going to be like a huge hit.
They've expanded so much. Like they're now making so many movies
Exactly.
that like where they used to really, you could just tell that they really focused on quality and like finding auteurs to support. Now it just seems to be a lot more profit focused, which is of course, you know, a good thing for them and for people who work at the studio. It's just not as great for people who thought of A24 as like the bastion of like modern movie quality.
All right. Well, here's to hoping that Elden Ring is a success. It's
You're
up
like-
to Olivia's standards.
Thank you, Maggie. I really appreciate your support on this.
You're welcome. Totally unrelated to what our episode is
I know.
on
I
today.
just wanted to talk about it.
No, I
Like,
get it. You needed to rant. And
This is like the biggest film news that has happened to me personally. And yeah, no, it's just like this is deeply important to me. And I really just wanted to rant about it.
no, I get it. That would be like if they like if A24 announced they were doing like a live action like Attack on Titan, like
Oh.
I would be feeling the exact same way.
That's actually the perfect
Like
comparison because yes, like exactly how you would feel is how I feel about this.
Gotcha. Okay, so I very much understand your worry now because I would feel the same way.
But anyway, today we are going to be talking about parody films.
Yes. I'm so excited for this episode, and yet I feel like it's probably I don't want to say our worst one, but our least.
We haven't even started yet.
No. Sorry, not our worst one. It's our least in theme with what we do on this podcast because I feel like all of these films are very similar in a lot of ways.
In a sense.
Tonally very similar. But I don't care because I loved all three so much. So I just am so excited to talk about them.
Yeah, this was a great week of movie watching.
It was just so much fun.
So good.
Yeah.
We kind of decided to define parody films as a film that parodies a film genre.
Yes.
So we'll be talking about Tropic Thunder, Galaxy Quest, and This Is Spinal Tap. Like I would say Galaxy Quest is a parody of it's a Star Trek parody.
Right. Those sci-fi movie, TV shows.
Exactly. This Is Spinal Tap is a mockumentary, and it was kind of the first big mockumentary, which is now such a huge genre, pre-Paranormal Activity.
Right. And also pre The Office. And it's just such a common thing in film and TV today.
100%. And I'm sure you could make the argument that shows like The Office or Parks and Rec wouldn't be around without Spinal Tap.
100%.
And then Tropic Thunder is, of course, a parody of war films.
Yes. That's also why we chose to ignore movies that are more satires on lifestyles, something like American Psycho.
Yeah, which could kind of fit into the parody genre a little bit, but it's not really parodying a certain type of film.
No, it's more, again, a satire of the wealthy 80s, capitalism lifestyle.
Exactly. But we will be covering American Psycho for our serial killers episode.
Yes, so stay tuned for that.
Yes, that'll be a fun one.
Should we just go right for it?
I think so. Yeah, let's just get into it.
All right, so the first movie we're going to be talking about, I'm so excited, is Tropic Thunder, made in 2008. It is an action comedy directed by Ben Stiller, written by Justin Theroux, Ben Stiller, and Ethan Cohen.
Aton Cohen.
Aton. I was worried that was a misspell, so I just went with it, but okay, good to know.
Yes. Not a Cohen brother, but still a Cohen by name.
I have to say, I'd never seen this movie before.
Yeah, this was a first watch, right?
Yeah, first watch for me. I knew what it was about, kind of, and I had seen clips, just random clips here and there. But I was so pleasantly surprised. I have to say, this is now the third thing I've watched Ben Stiller direct. I like him a lot more as a director than an actor. I think that is my gripe with him. Because we watched Zoolander, and I think when I was watching Zoolander, I think the biggest thing was I don't find him very funny.
Fair enough. Okay.
And I'll go into it more in this movie, but he is, I think, very funny in this movie too. But I just don't find him to be the funniest. In fact, I find him to be kind of the weaker part of this movie. But I think this movie's hilarious, and I think it's so well directed. And I thought Zoolander was well directed too.
Agreed.
And what he's doing on Severance is obviously
Insane.
incredible. So I think I prefer him as a director over a comedian / actor.
I would kind of agree with you. I think he writes and directs really funny stuff, and pretty much everything he has directed is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I think he is really funny when he's playing more of a straight man.
Yes.
I really love him in Meet the Parents.
Yes. That's actually a really good way to say it.
Yeah, where I don't think that, and I do like Derek Zoolander. I do think that that's a funny character, but I think he really thrives more as a straight man surrounded by ridiculous people, and it works less when he's one of the ridiculous people. So Tropic Thunder was released on August 13th, 2008 by DreamWorks Pictures as a wide release. It was a critical and box office success. It grossed $91 million worldwide on a $45 million budget and received generally favorable reviews. It definitely has had a long lifespan.
Yeah, it's very critically loved and very generally loved.
Definitely.
But
I mean, I feel like I still hear people quoting Tropic Thunder regularly.
oh, all the time. This movie also, I feel like we have to say, has a lot of controversy surrounding
Yeah.
it. It's a very highly debated film.
It is, and it's very kind of, it knowingly pushes buttons throughout.
Yes, totally. It's a satire not only on like war movies, but on just kind of like on Hollywood in general. Very much how like
so.
Zoolander pokes fun at the fashion industry. Tropic Thunder very much pokes fun at like Hollywood and a lot of its practices.
Definitely.
And especially a lot of its more like controversial practices.
Yes, and the way that certain actors who are like method can get a little too into character and become like a nuisance to everybody on set.
Yes.
Which I feel like is a topic that has been brought up again recently. I feel like I've seen a lot of discussion around method acting lately.
Yeah, I don't remember how it started exactly, but I agree with you. I feel like lately that's become like a very controversial thing.
Yeah, and this like very directly satirizes those kinds of actors.
Yes, but it is, the way it's satirized is again very very controversial, and I feel like there's other little like points in this movie that people have taken issue with.
Definitely.
So it is a very like highly debated movie, and a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on it. But again, overall, like I feel like this movie at the time and still today is still generally like
I feel like
adored in a way.
I would definitely say so. It's one of those films that I think has gotten away with a lot and continues to get away with a lot, even when other properties from back then that maybe didn't fit like the 2025 version of political correctness have been really harshly judged in retrospect. Tropic Thunder kind of hasn't.
And again, I think because the film is a satire.
Exactly. And it's so self-aware about everything it does.
Yes. But we say all this to kind of say like, make your own opinions about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you can choose to enjoy the film or not enjoy the film. We personally enjoyed the film, and also we're just like not the right people to speak on like whether it is like morally correct in its presentation and in its satire.
Again, there was just I did a lot of research with like kind of how this film was received. And again, it's just like a very diverse, like
mixed bag.
Yeah,
of
like
opinions.
a lot of people have different opinions on it. So again, like make your own opinion, do what you will with this movie.
Yeah. So the film opens with a series of fake commercials, like fake movie trailers.
I loved that.
So good.
I literally wrote, when the movie's gonna be good when I'm like, wait, did it start yet? And then I'm realizing like that's how the movie opens, and I'm like, oh, this movie's gonna be hilarious.
It's great. So all the film is about the making of a movie, and the trailers that come before the film are showing the lead actors of the movie being made in Tropic Thunder, like their past work.
Yes, and kind of what their like filmography, what type of actors they are.
Exactly. So the film is about the memoir of a fictional war hero, Staff Sergeant John Fourleaf Tabak's memoir. And it's about the people who are making this memoir into a movie. Except for this kind of unknown supporting actor, Kevin Sandusky, who's played by Jay Baruchel, the cast is made up of faded action hero Tug Speedman, who's played by Ben Stiller, 5-time Academy Award-winning method actor Kirk Lazarus, who's played by Robert Downey Jr., rapper Al Pacino, who's played by Brandon T. Jackson, who is represented by an energy drink called Booty Sweat.
Amazing.
So good. The Booty Sweat commercial plays before the film. And a drug-addicted comedic actor, Jeff Portnoy, who is played by Jack Black.
Yeah, this cast is like star-studded, first of all.
Yeah, everyone is famous.
like really famous. And everyone is like so perfectly cast. Like no one is kind of like off their mark. It is so funny.
And notably, as we kind of alluded to before, the Kirk Lazarus character, who's played by Robert Downey Jr., has undergone a very controversial skin pigmentation alteration procedure so that he can appear black when he's a white Australian guy because he's playing a black guy in the movie. And he's completely in character the whole time.
And when I say the whole time, like the entire movie, when they're not rolling, when they're back at their hotel, he is speaking in like a very like offensive like voice, like stereotypical voice, I guess you would say.
Exactly.
And
his kind of ridiculousness is constantly commented on by Al Pacino, the rapper, who like is a black guy.
Yes, their interactions are hilarious just because Brandon T. Jackson's face when
So
Robert Downey
good.
Jr. is speaking to him is just like, he is not even like disgusted. He is like at a point beyond that. Like he's just so over it.
Yeah.
It is hilarious.
It's really good. Their interactions do lead to like some of the comedic highlights of the film. So the film that they're making is months behind schedule. Studio executive Les Grossman, who's played excellently by Tom Cruise, wearing a pair of fake hands, like fat hands.
He doesn't even look like himself. He's like got a gut. He's got a comb over. His arms are like covered in like hair. He's got like chest hair. I wrote Tom Cruise needs to do more comedy and less Scientology.
Literally,
he's
say
so
that again.
funny in this.
Tom Cruise is such a great actor, but like he does need to do more comedic stuff. He's great.
Just get out of the cult, man.
Yeah. Like, why are we wasting our time with Scientology and Mission Impossible?
Literally, like, stop trying to kill yourself on camera and just be funny because you're funny.
You're a funny guy, Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Like, you are.
Like, just stop trying to brainwash people. It's fine.
So Les Grossman gives Damien, the director of the film, an ultimatum. Basically, get your, like, diva cast under control or I'm going to cancel the project. Damien's solution to this ultimatum is to drop the actors in the middle of the jungle, and he set up hidden cameras and like rigged special effects explosions, and he's going to reshoot the film guerrilla style. So basically the actors will just be like existing in the woods, and unseen cameras will capture them as they perform the scenes to each other.
Yeah, he kind of puts like Ben Stiller's character like in charge of like leading the scenes, but like when I tell you they have like a little mini like playback kind of thing of the script, and like they're just going to kind of improv a lot of stuff. So the actors like are, I can't even tell if they're into it.
I mean, I think they're kind of like, okay, if this is what you want to do, but like they're not obsessed with being taken away from their like 5-star hotels and like dropped into the middle of the woods, especially not Jeff Portnoy, which is Jack Black's character, because he's a heroin addict.
Right. He's been taken away from his drugs and he only has like a very limited supply he brought with him.
Yes. And him trying to like sneak away to do drugs is like
hilarious.
Is like a running bit throughout the film.
Yeah. So along with his limited supply of drugs, all the actors have guns that fire blanks, a map, and again like a scene listing. They are kind of like given this loose map to go to a helicopter that will take them like to the end of like the journey / the film.
Yeah, like they're given a route basically, and with markers along the route where they'll perform their scenes, and then once they reach the end of the route, like a helicopter will be there to take them home.
Unknown to the actors and to production, the group has actually been dropped right in the middle of the Golden Triangle, which is the home of the heroin-producing Flaming Dragon Gang. So they very quickly end up in hot water. Yeah.
Like legitimate danger now.
Yeah.
And just as the group is like about to set off on their little guerrilla-style film journey, Damien steps on an old landmine and is blown up.
That was hilarious.
It's so good.
He literally is like, all right, guys, let's go make this movie. Takes one step and just explodes. And everyone is like in shock.
Yeah.
Like they just cannot believe what just happened.
And also like you as the viewer like are not expecting that at all. Like it's so good.
Because at this point too, we don't know that they're in actually like a real sense of danger. So we just think that we're like with the actors. We just think that they're like going to do this like guerrilla style type shoot. Mm-hmm. Tug, like after the initial shock wears off, believes that Damien faked his death to kind of like encourage the cast to like, you know, be real and give a good performance, be raw. And he assures him that the other actors that Damien is like alive somewhere and that the film is still going on. But all the other actors are like not really buying it.
Yeah, because he's like, oh no, like there was definitely like a trap door. Like this is all just prosthetics. Like all of his like body parts scattered everywhere. Like it's prosthetics.
He picks up like his severed head and he's like, guys, I know a fake body when I see one.
And everyone else is like, that's his head.
Yeah, Kirk especially is like, I don't know what you're thinking, but like, and it's hilarious too because he's still doing like his character.
Yes.
So he's like,
he never lets up on the character.
No, never. And so, but he is like, yeah, no, we're fucked. Like that was actually real, and we just need to get home now.
Yes. So Four Leaf, who is like the war vet that the movie is based on, who's serving as a consultant on the film.
He wrote the book.
Yes. Him and the pyrotechnics officer, Cody Underwood, who's played by Danny McBride, very funny. They're trying to locate the director because all of a sudden they can't get in touch with him, and they have all these explosions rigged up along the route. Mm-hmm. So they're captured almost immediately by Flaming Dragon guards who find them posted up like in the area.
As the actors continue through the jungle, Kirk and Kevin, who is the only actor who like actually bothered to prepare for his role. Like Kirk is in character, but later like Kevin is like, did you guys read the script? And none of them like did.
I don't read the script. The script reads me.
Yeah, such a
and
great
he goes,
line.
what does that mean?
Yeah, like none of them read the book. Kevin is the only one who did like a boot camp to kind of like prepare as a soldier.
And he's the only actor in the crew that's not famous.
Yes, this is like his breakout role.
Yeah.
He's hoping. Also, quick note, as someone who kind of likes like nerdier guys, Jay,
he's so cute.
Oh, he's so, especially like him in the like soldier uniform, and he kind of becomes like the hero of this movie in like a lot of weird ways. Mm-hmm. Again, he's the only like straight man, so he is like actually leading them through the jungle, and he's the one who's like coming up with plans. I was like, oh, okay, Jay Baruchel. Like, he's very cute in this movie.
Jay Baruchel has always been a cutie. Remember the Sorcerer's Apprentice?
Yes. Or like any like preteen girl watching like How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes.
Like, I think everyone had like a little crush on Hiccup.
Oh my God, we all did.
Yeah. But so he is the only one who like actually like knows what he's doing in some sort of capacity.
Exactly. And he's just like consistently amazed at how incompetent like all of these famous actors are.
Yes. And it's at this point in the movie that he discovers that Tug, who is like supposed to be leading the group because that's his role in the movie, is actually leading them the complete wrong direction.
Yeah, he cannot read a map.
Yeah. This results in an argument between Kirk and Tug, and this argument ends with Kirk deciding to lead the rest of the cast back towards the resort, and where they're actually supposed to be going to this helicopter. And Tug decides to stay behind because he's convinced that like they're still shooting the movie. Mm-hmm. So he's going towards like where he thinks the next like filming location is going to be, basically.
Yeah. So Tug, who's now left alone, is captured by Flaming Dragon guards. They take him to their base, and Tug still thinks that this is like a set from the movie. And so like he thinks that he's going to the POW camp in the script.
It's so funny. Like he literally shows up. He's like bound, and he like one of the like guards like spits in his face, and he was like, yeah, that was good. Do it again. Hold on. Let me just like get more in character. It's so funny. And then they're like spitting on each other.
Yeah. They start waterboarding him, and and they're like dunking his whole body in water. And every time he goes up, he goes, cut.
He's like, cut, Damien. Okay, time to cut. It is so funny. I mean, like, again, my favorite parts of this movie are like
the more satirical parts.
Yes, it's just so hilarious. Like, I also like this movie because there's less like toilet boy humor in it.
Yeah,
there's some, but it works here.
There really is not a joke in the film that didn't land for me.
No, yeah, same. But I do especially love like when the joke is like these actors being so ridiculous and like making fun of themselves. So I love the joke where Al Pacino is like filming the scene, and he's like, man, I'm so thirsty, this jungle. And he's like, let me pull out my booty sweat drink. And it's like the like, what is it called? Like
product placement?
Yeah, product placement.
Yeah, he's like holding it like that. He's
yes.
like, so refreshing.
It's
like,
so funny. Those are like my favorite jokes in the movie.
100% would agree with you.
Yeah. So after he's captured, Tug is brought forward to the gang's boss, who is a 12-year-old named Tran.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
It's like the meanest 12-year-old boy ever.
Yeah, it's just so funny because there's all these like tough, like burly men, and then they're like, we're gonna bring you to our leader. It's like this little boy. Tran discovers that Tug is the star of their favorite film.
It's the only film that they have at their
Yes,
base.
yeah.
So they've all watched it 100 times.
It is a box office bomb, absolute failure called Simple Jack, which was a Tug's attempt. Tug is like kind of like an action star in Hollywood.
And Simple Jack was his first attempt to be like a more serious actor.
Yes.
And where he played like a mentally challenged person.
Yes. And it's like the most offensive portrayal of like mentally challenged people like you could ever imagine. And of course it was an absolute failure.
Yeah. And everyone hates it. But except at this base, they love it. It's their favorite film because it's their only film.
Yeah. They're like, you're Simple Jack. Like they love him. So they force him to like basically do like a theatrical version of it like several times a day for the entire like camp.
It's so funny. The Simple Jack bit is my favorite bit in the film.
It's funny
like,
because it's making fun of movies that actually exist like that.
Exactly.
Like, and movies like that do exist, and they are awful and offensive.
Remember Sia's movie?
Yes.
It's literally like, it's very Simple Jack coded.
Oh, 100%.
So while all of this is going on, back in Los Angeles, Tug's agent, Pecker, who's played by Matthew McConaughey, and he shows up kind of periodically throughout the film, like on the phone with Tug.
Yeah, we basically like are mostly in the jungle with the actors, but then we'll like kind of every once in a while go back to LA where Pecker is and where Les Grossman is.
Yes. So we cut back to Los Angeles and Pecker is arguing with Les Grossman on the phone over an unfulfilled term in Tug's contract where he's supposed to get TiVo in his trailer and hotel. And this TiVo thing has been like absolutely driving Pecker like crazy.
Yeah.
Like the entire film, he's like pissed that Tug doesn't have TiVo when he knows he requested TiVo.
Yeah. Even when Tug is like in the jungle, like, you know, not like they don't know where he is. Like he's like, well, my client deserves TiVo and stuff. They're
like, we can't find him.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not like the biggest Matthew McConaughey fan. Just like something about him. Like, I think he's a fine actor.
That's wild. I love Matthew McConaughey.
I don't like dislike him.
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
just like he's kind of like whatever for me in movies.
Fair enough.
And so when I saw him, I was kind of like, oh, am I not gonna like love, or is he gonna like wreck the movie for me? And he's actually like the TiVo bit was so funny for me.
So funny. But again, we're going to say that, and we have said that about literally every person in this movie because it is so perfectly cast.
Oh, 100%. Even Bill Hader, who I love.
Love Bill Hader, love Barry, and like everything he's done on SNL.
Yes, like just obsessed with him in every single way.
Same. He's dating Ali Wong now. How cute.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But,
power couple.
No, literally. But he's like a small part in the movie and he's kind of like Tom Cruise's like assistant.
Yes, he's like his right-hand man, and not only is Bill Hader like hilarious on his own whenever he's in like a scene, but him and Tom Cruise together,
they play off of each other so well.
Oh my god, the scene where they're talking to Pecker is just so funny.
Yes.
It's also like, I apologize because in this episode I think every other note we'll have is like
just talking about how funny it is.
It's so funny.
We did kind of accidentally manage to choose 3 of like the funniest films ever, so apologies for that, but also you should totally watch all 3 of them if you
100%. This is like I think the first episode where I'm like, you guys actually have to watch all 3.
Yeah, like your knowledge of what is funny is just not complete if you have not seen at least like Tropic Thunder and Spinal Tap, just 2 of the best comedies ever made, period.
Exactly.
So getting back into it, Pecker is arguing with Les about TiVo. While they're on the phone, Flaming Dragon calls Pecker from Tug's phone and demands a ransom for Tug. Les thinks that they're a rival talent agency and picks up the phone and starts screaming at them like, go fuck yourself.
One of my favorite lines in this entire movie is Les screaming at them, hangs up the phone, and then like turns to like his secretary or someone and is like, can you get me who that was? Like he doesn't realize like it's a fucking like heroin like making gang,
But
in like,
and he yelled,
they're in like Laos or something like that.
and he yelled like the most heinous shit at them.
It's so great.
And then it's like, oh, and you don't even like know or really care too much who it was.
Yeah, I mean, Les is like completely uninterested in rescuing Tug, and instead is like delighted at the prospect of a large life insurance payout if Tug dies through this like ransom. He attempts to bribe Peck, who obviously wants to rescue Tug. It's his client.
It's his client, and also you can kind of tell they're like friends.
Yeah. He wants to bribe him with the promise of a Gulfstream V-jet and also lots of money, which I also found that was like what was holding Peck back from like saving his friend and client, was like, wait, I might get my own plane.
Yeah.
Like, it's just such a stupid but like funny joke.
They show him like leafing through the pamphlet of like for like planes.
Yeah.
Like, so Kirk, Alpa, Jeff, and Kevin, like the remaining cast members, discover Flaming Dragon's heroin factory as they're trying to get back to their hotel. And they are witnessing, and they see Tug in the camp being tortured, and they plan a rescue attempt based on one of the rescue attempts in the screenplay.
Yes.
Kirk impersonates a farmer towing a captured Jeff. Like, they take off all his clothes and put him on the back of a mule. Mm-hmm. And like try to distract the guards so Alpa and Kevin can infiltrate the camp and find the prisoners, like find where they're keeping Tug. So they accidentally blow their cover and then just like start firing their blanks at everyone. They actually do fool the gang members into surrendering because they're just like, oh my God, these guys are crazy.
Yeah.
And their control of the gang does immediately fall apart when Jeff grabs Tran, who's their child leader, and is just like, take me to the drugs. Like,
yeah, he has been going through withdrawal this entire movie.
Yes.
In a very hilarious fashion. And so when he like discovers that this is like a heroin farm, he immediately
you can see his like
folds.
mouth start to water.
Yeah, and he immediately is like, give me to the drugs. And he's like, don't judge me.
Yeah, he's like, don't judge me.
As
he's
so
running away.
Great.
The four actors manage to locate Four Leaf, Underwood, and Tug, and then the group does like, they're able to make their escape and return to Four Leaf's helicopter in kind of a very funnily cliche action sequence that mirrors the action sequence they were filming for their movie when the movie started.
Yes. It includes some, I think that might have been like some of the funniest moments for me
Agreed.
in the entire movie, specifically the scene with the bridge.
Yes.
And because Tug goes through like a little bit of like a psychosis while he's there.
Because he's like, everyone loves me here when I keep doing Simple Jack. Like, why would I go back to Hollywood where everyone hates me?
Yeah, because
like,
he's kind of like failing in Hollywood. And it is just funny. He attempts to go back and like kind of be with what he now considers to be his people.
Yeah.
And then he comes back 2 seconds later like, I was wrong. They're like shooting at him.
Yeah.
There's a kid on his back like stabbing him.
Yes.
So great.
It's too good.
When all looks lost because Tran is about to fire an RPG at the helicopter that they are escaping on, Matthew McConaughey's character unexpectedly comes in with the TiVo.
Holding the TiVo box over his head. Like,
Yes.
And he's like, Doug, I got the TiVo.
He's like, your friend is here and he has the TiVo. And he saves them by throwing the TiVo box into the rocket's path so it blocks it right before it can blow up the helicopter.
Mm-hmm. The crew all return to Hollywood, where it is and it's revealed that like months later, the hidden camera footage has been compiled into a feature film now called Tropic Thunder, which becomes a major critical and commercial success. And the film wins Tug his first Academy Award, which Kirk, who is now not in character anymore, presents to him at the ceremony.
Yes, and that is the end of the film.
Yes.
I feel like us explaining this movie like
We're
literally
just-
doesn't do it justice.
It just doesn't, because like relaying jokes like third hand just doesn't capture it. Like, if you haven't seen Tropic Thunder, we really implore you to go watch it.
It's one of those movies, and I feel like the other two movies do this really well too, so I'll probably be repeating myself, but it's one of those movies where like the highlight of the comedy is the acting. Like every actor is just so in their element and they're so perfectly cast. And the jokes are so, it's not like a type of like sitcom thing where it's like the joke happens and then there's supposed to be like a laugh track.
It's not, there aren't bits.
No.
They're like ongoing jokes. And a lot of them like will kind of come back at a point and like, or they're like bits that are spread throughout the movie that work to enhance character development.
Exactly. Like there's a lot of lines in this movie where I feel like it wouldn't be as funny if the actors weren't as like locked in as they were.
100%. Every single person is like dedicated to this film.
Yeah. Even earlier what you said with Kevin's character when Kirk is like, I don't read scripts, they read me. And he's like, what does that mean? Like Jay Vershall's like delivery is so good.
He's such a good straight man in this.
And like even Kirk's delivery, like Robert Downey Jr. is so good in that role.
I'm pretty sure he was nominated for an Oscar.
Yes,
for
he
this,
was for this.
Which like, honestly, yeah, like fine. Okay.
Also like how, I mean, him getting nominated for the Oscar for this movie is just so telling because this movie literally makes fun of
those actors who like go through transformations and then get awarded for it.
And also, especially with Robert Downey Jr.'s character, his character in the movie is like the Oscar nominated, Academy Award winning, like serious drama actor. So the fact that he was then nominated, like it's just like you just proved the whole movie's point.
Exactly.
It's so great though. And yeah, he does a great job in the movie. So like, you know, I love Robert Downey Jr.
He's so good. And again, like I really feel like Tropic Thunder is kind of able to a little bit in the court of public opinion get away with Robert Downey Jr.'s character because it is such sharp and over the top satire.
Yes. It's so self-aware of what it is. It kind of reminds me of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because they do a very similar type of controversial comedy. And I watched a really great behind the scenes video with the cast because they created the show, the cast. And they were talking about how like the comedy doesn't come from the portrayal itself. It comes from everyone around that person reacting to how ridiculous they are.
Yeah.
And I think Tropic Thunder does that really well.
Exactly. No, I totally agree. I would probably give this just because like I truly like very few movies make me laugh like this and like consistently throughout. I'd probably give Tropic Thunder like a 7.
A 7? Wow.
I
thought you were going to be higher on that.
For some reason, like comedies, like straight comedies like Tropic Thunder, I can never quite get them over that like 7 mark in my head. I'm like anything above that I feel like is like I reserve it for something that's more like,
artsy.
Not even more artsy, something that just like takes itself and like its filmmaking a little more seriously.
Gotcha.
Where like this is just a super enjoyable comedy, like a top tier comedy, but I wouldn't consider it a top tier film.
Gotcha. I wrote, it's fun, it's hilarious, it's super self-aware, it's a great parody and great satire. I would definitely watch it again easily. I gave it originally a 9 out of 10. I just was
honestly,
really
valid.
I think I'm going to change it to an 8.5 though.
Fair.
Just because I kind of agree with your point where it's like, I like filmmaking wise, like nothing really stood out to me, but also like, it's not really that kind of movie for me.
No, like it's not like I wanted this to be more filmy. Like it's perfect as it is.
Totally.
But for some reason, it's just, I don't know. It's just one of my little isms that I have when I do film ratings.
Yeah. But overall, I thought this movie was great. I thought it was hilarious.
Definitely.
And I highly implore people to watch it.
Yeah, 100%. So our next film is This Is Spinal Tap, which is, I mean, the iconic mockumentary from 1984 and director Rob Reiner.
The absolute GOAT, Rob Reiner. We've talked about how much we love him before on this podcast.
Yes, I'm so happy we're doing another one of his films.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't praise Tropic Thunder enough, like you're going to see me basically like worship this movie. This is one of my favorite movies ever.
Really? When was your first time watching it?
Maybe when I was like 12 or 13.
That's the perfect age.
Yeah, my parents showed it to me, and like when I tell you, I think it's good to watch it with like Again, like people you know.
Oh yeah, I watched it with my dad, who couldn't hype it up enough before we started watching.
It is just like, it's a very specific kind of comedy. But I'm sorry, like if you don't find this movie funny, I think you're stupid. Like like I do. Like I just genuinely think you're dumb, and I don't think you get like,
you don't get like real intelligent comedy, like Smell the Glove. Like
right. Like, you know, if you don't laugh at these go to 11, like genuinely what's wrong with you? Like, I think you have a low IQ.
I have to agree with you there. You know, like that's like when Rick and Morty fans were like, people like with low IQs just don't get like all the dick jokes in Rick and Morty.
Oh yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's like, watch Spinal Tap and then get back to me.
But like you have a bad sense of humor if you don't like Spinal Tap, and that's just a fact.
Right. It's literally objective.
It was written by, well, the credited writers on the project are Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, Harry Shearer, and Rob Reiner. But the whole film pretty much is improvised.
Yeah.
Like most of the dialogue is improvised, and they just kind of had outlines of scenes. And the dialogue's fully just them. So apparently Rob Reiner like tried to make it so that every actor on the project had a writing credit, which is really sweet.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, but the studio wouldn't allow it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was saying how Tropic Thunder has like all these actors that are so in their element. I mean, like, this is Spinal Tap.
These guys just are these guys.
Yeah, I mean, they're like chameleons. Like Christopher Guest, especially. I mean, he's done all these like mockumentaries. That's kind of his thing. And each one, he is so like, you're like, wait, that's the guy from Spinal Tap. Wait, that's the guy from Best in Show. Like, and especially Rob Reiner, because he comes up in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, he's not just behind the camera. He's kind of like interviewing them, and
he also plays the director of the fake documentary that the movie supposedly is.
It's just like, when I tell you everyone is so locked in, it really is like such a clever satire because it's so realistic. Like, yes, it's funny, and yes, it's like slapstick at times, but never is it presented like that.
No.
Like, again, there's never a part where you should feel like a laugh track is coming in.
No, it's that very kind of like dry, almost quiet, like British humor, which it was an American production company, but the band is British, and very kind of quintessentially so. And yeah, no, there's so many like blink or you miss them really funny throwaway lines that like clearly the actors just improvised in the moment, but that are so iconic and funny.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe this movie. Like, there's a lot of great like scenes that are like just ongoing jokes, but almost like every other line in this movie is a joke.
No, entirely. Like, joke per minute ratio goes crazy.
Insane.
And I feel like you don't even quite get or hear all of the jokes on your first watch. Like, you really have to watch it a second time to like hear every joke.
You also have to watch it again with someone who's seen it before, who can kind of be like, oh my gosh, this joke coming up and stuff like that. Because again, the more you watch it, the more you're like, wait, that's hilarious, that line. Like, even I just watched it. My sister wanted to watch it on her birthday, which was back in April.
Oh, so fun.
And we watched it all together. And one of the lines I missed the first time was like, the band is supposed to like play a show in Boston, but it gets canceled. And their manager's like, it's not a big deal. It's not really a big college town. And I was like, that's such a great line. And I like had never realized it before. And I've seen this movie like dozens of times.
Yeah, no, but there are so many of those kind of lines that you just don't notice. But like everything is a joke. I don't know. Just these guys were really on top of their game. Apparently they filmed over 100 hours of footage.
I would love to see like the unedited, like cut, just the raw footage.
No, I know. But then you also have to think like, damn, those editors, like what amazing jobs they did putting this film together. If there was that much footage to sift through, like they did find the gold.
Yeah, it's such a masterpiece. It premiered in March 1984 as a wide release, and it was distributed by Embassy Pictures. It grossed upwards of $4 million on a $2 million budget, which like $2 million budget for a movie, like they used their money well.
They very much did. There's a lot of like performance scenes that feel real.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like they're performing to no one. Like, you can feel the crowd energy, and I'm curious to know how they did that.
The film is now, of course, widely known as a cult classic.
Yeah, like, it definitely has gotten a bigger, like, its status has increased over time.
Totally.
So the kind of concept of the film is that filmmaker Marty DeBurgi is filming a documentary about the English rock band Spinal Tap and their 1982 United States tour for their new album, which is called Smell the Glove.
Like, I can't even tell you, the introduction alone to the documentary, like, is Rob Reiner just explaining, like, I followed this band on their American tour. The introduction alone
So funny.
is so funny.
And it's the fact, so much of the film is really funny because it like takes itself very seriously as a documentary.
Yes.
And Ozzy Osbourne, like famous rock star, obviously, he's actually quoted saying that when he first saw the film, he thought it was a documentary about a real band because it, one, like captures the feeling of being in a band so well, and just because it's of how it's presented. Like,
yes. Also, along with writing the script for this movie, they also wrote all this original music.
Yes.
Because we see like multiple concert scenes, and it's so great because the music is like shitty, but it's like good enough where you could
good
believe
enough that you buy that like this is a band that people like.
Yes, but also like when you hear the lyrics
Yes.
and all this stuff, you're like, wait, this is so stupid. So it's you're right, it's so subtle and it's so realistic, but it's like that's why I say it's such a clever satire.
Exactly.
Because you're at some points you're like, wait, this could be real.
100%. So the band is made up of childhood friends David St. Hubbins and Nigel Tufnell, who are on vocals and guitar respectively. And they're kind of the two members of the band that we spend the most time with.
Yeah, they kind of lead like the plot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nigel is played by Christopher Guest and David is played by Michael McKean. And then there's also the bassist Derek Smalls and the keyboardist Viv Savage. I love that name. And then the drummer Mick Shrimpton. And they're managed by this guy called Ian Faith, who is played by Tony Hendra.
The documentary covers Spinal Tap's early days as the skiffle group, the Originals.
I love this.
Oh my God, seeing their old footage is hilarious.
Where they were like kind of this like doo-wop like group. And they have this whole discussion where they tell you that they had to rename themselves to the New Originals at one point because there was already a band called the Originals, but then they changed it back to the Originals once the other Originals broke up.
Yeah, then they were the Originals.
Yes.
Like, it was just so great. They all had they like show old footage, and they all have the like very 60s like Beatles like boy cuts in the suits, and like it's just any chance they can take to like kind of poke fun at like music in this era or like in the different like periods of like popular music, they do, and it's so great every single time. Like the whole documentary is making fun of these like 80s death metal hair bands kind of thing, but they poke fun at like the 60s, the 70s. They poke fun at like more like traditional kind of like folk music at one point. It's just like, it's hilarious.
So we are continuing to learn about Spinal Tap's history. They at one point renamed themselves the Thames Men, and they had a hit called Gimme Some Money. And then they eventually changed their name to Spinal Tap and achieved like a significant hit with the hippie anthem Listen to the Flower People. And then they subsequently began performing heavy metal music, and that's the era that we find them in now, is their heavy metal hair era. Also, we learned that several of the band's previous drummers have died under increasingly strange circumstances. Their first drummer, John Stumpy Peppies, died in a bizarre gardening accident that police said was better left unsolved. Their next drummer died choking on someone else's vomit. And then their following drummer spontaneously combusted on stage. So like for some reason, it's really dangerous to be a Spinal Tap drummer.
Yes. They even asked the like current drummer, I think Rob Reiner asked him, he's like, does this make you nervous? And he's like, kind of giving like that typical like rock star answer. He's like, oh, well, you know, like, I guess we'll just see where it goes and stuff like that. And it's just like so funny how like aloof he's being.
Yeah.
Like, so Nigel the guitarist shows Marty his extensive guitar collection.
This is the
like
best scene.
Literally one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Including one that is so valuable it can't even be looked at, much less played. As well as a custom-made amplifier that has these volume knobs, and instead of going up to the typical 10 like they do, these knobs go up to 11.
Why wouldn't you just make 10 louder, you might ask? This one goes to 11.
These go to 11. When I tell you that line, I say that any chance. Like, it's almost like I can't not say it. In fact, the other day, my mom was, I don't even remember what we were talking about. And I was saying something like, oh yeah, I turned it up to 10. And my mom, literally as if like she was a Russian like sniper agent that was awoken from like an audio cue, was like, these go to 11. And like, when I tell you, we literally can't, like, that's what Spinal Tap is so
quotable.
It's just so amazing because it's so quotable. And like that, I think we were talking about this the other day with like certain movies and certain like comedies are great because they feel like they're like a little inside joke between you and your friends and the people you watch it with. And I think Spinal Tap is like a great example of that. Yes, it's objectively funny, but when you bring the comedy like in through like just like saying it every day, it makes it so much funnier.
No, it's true. I do love when movies are able to resonate in the way that like they can become a part of, like, lingo from them can become a part of your lingo with a friend. It makes it 10 times more enjoyable. And Spinal Tap is one of those that it's like, if like you can quote it endlessly and it's always funny.
This is where the plot kind of starts to like develop a little bit more. We have some tensions rising between the band and their manager Ian. Several shows are canceled due to low ticket sales, and a lot of major retailers refuse to sell Smell the Glove because of its sexist cover art. This is another hilarious scene. Fran Drescher, who's like, what is she, like their publicist or something?
Yeah, or the record agency's publicist.
Yes.
She's just like, it's a sexist cover, and they're like, yeah, it's sexy.
Yeah, they don't know what sexist means. They're like, yeah, we love it. It's sexy. And she's like, no, sexist.
It's offensive to women.
Yeah.
And it's we don't actually see the supposedly offensive cover, but we hear it described, and it's horrific.
It is awful, like terribly
truly
offensive.
Deeply offensive. So David has this girlfriend, Janine, who is like a yoga and astrology devotee. She's kind of posed as this like Yoko Ono figure in the band. She joins the group on tour and starts participating in band meetings and kind of like asserting herself where she has no authority. And Nigel and Ian hate her, and they hate her ideas for how Spinal Tap's like costumes and stage presentation should look. She has this whole idea where like they should all wear prosthetics to look like zodiac animals. Like,
yes.
It's just like weird.
And of course, David is like clearly like not really into her ideas either, but he's also like her boyfriend.
So he's like, oh, we should hear her out. And
Yeah.
they're like, are you serious?
Yeah. So without consulting the Spinal Tap, the band's record label releases Smell the Glove with an entirely black album cover. This also has one of my favorite lines, which is, how much more black can it get? And the answer is none. None black.
None more black.
Yeah.
But also, fun fact about this, Metallica's very famous Black album with the all black cover was done as an homage to Spinal Tap because they watched it together as a band on tour and like loved it.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so a lot of people actually think it's like the opposite. Like
Yeah.
they think that this was inspired by Metallica's album when in reality it's the other way around.
So despite Ian telling them that it could have a similar appeal to the Beatles' very famous White Album, Smell the Glove does not live up to those standards and it fails to sell.
Yeah, it's entirely black. Like there's no words. Like it's literally just black.
Right. It literally looks like a mirror. Like It's hilarious.
Nigel suggests doing like a druid themed show, and he asks Ian to order like a model of Stonehenge to have on the stage. And Nigel like writes like kind of an example of what he wants on a napkin, and he mislabels the measurements. So this is one of the funniest scenes. But oh my God, I've said that like 5
I was going
times.
to say, I think I've said that like 3 times now, but when I tell you, like, you guys, this movie just has scene after scene after scene. That's
Like,
like
iconic
comedy gold.
moments.
This actually might be one of the funniest ones, though.
It is. So the actual model of Stonehenge that they receive is 18 inches tall and not 18 feet tall. And there's a very funny scene when they're performing their song Stonehenge and it descends and it's like this big.
It's literally like it coming down in the background when you see I think it's Nigel
And
like
you see
singing.
them go, like their faces just like fall as
Yes.
they see the model.
It's hilarious. So the group blames Ian, who is very frustrated, and he quits. The tour continues. It's now rescheduled for much smaller venues. I mean, they were already at small venues before, but now it's like getting a little bit laughable.
Yeah, and Janine has essentially now like taken over as the brand's manager. Janine and David like are kind of marginalizing Nigel, who feels like really left out of all the decision making. They have a gig at the United States Air Force Base and like their equipment malfunctions and Nigel quits.
Yeah, I think like his quitting is like just kind of this buildup of like,
Yeah.
when I tell you they're playing like ridiculous venues, like almost like the equivalent of like kids' birthday parties.
The next place they play is an amphitheater at an amusement park where they're billed under the kids' puppet show.
Yes.
So like they're opening for the puppet show.
Yeah.
Like hilariously horrible venues. And there they find that like they can't really perform without Nigel, their guitarist. They try to do this like improvisational jazz show that goes down very poorly.
Yeah, I forget. I think it's their bassist wrote this like jazz odyssey, and
Yeah.
like obviously they're like a death metal like group,
And
so
it sounds hilariously bad.
yes, it not only is it terrible, but like their limited audience like hates it because that's not the kind of music they listen to.
Exactly.
So on the last day of the tour, David and Derek consider ending Spinal Tap and just kind of like exploring other projects.
Yeah, they're throwing some ideas around. They talk about maybe doing a Jack the Ripper musical called Saucy Jack.
Like, who wrote that?
Who wrote this?
Whoever did that joke, like, it's so, who would think of that?
Oh, God. Some people's senses of humor genuinely amaze me. There are even people in real life that I'm like, how are you that quick?
No, one of my friends, he's so funny. One time we were hanging out and he said something and I was like, God damn you. How does your brain work like that where you can
know.
just think of shit like that on the fly?
And I love that we're the ones that started a podcast.
Yes, yeah. We're not those people who are quick and funny.
Yeah.
The people who react to it.
Before they go on stage for the final time, like the end of their tour, Nigel arrives, surprising everybody, and he tells them that Spinal Tap song Sex Farm, which we do hear snippets of at one point, and it's just as funny as you think it'll be. It's become a major hit in Japan, and Ian wants to arrange a tour there and then come back on board as their manager.
David bitterly refuses. However, later, as Nigel is watching the band perform in the wings, David kind of like relents and invites Nigel to join the band on stage. I have to say, this is a very sweet moment
It
in
is.
this like ridiculous comedy because like, as you remember, David and Nigel are like the childhood friends who like played music all their lives together. So seeing them kind of reconcile is very sweet. And of course, it like really delights the crowd. They're happy to have like the band all back together. And during this performance, Mick, the drummer, combusts on stage just out of nowhere.
Oh, that was the perfect note to end the film on.
Yes.
Because you're waiting for him to die the whole time because it's been so established that like all the drummers die.
Yeah.
Very funny. And then afterwards, in kind of like a post word on the film, we learn that Ian was rehired as the group's manager, and Spinal Tap, now with a new drummer, is performing a series of sold out shows in Japan.
Yes. And that is the end of the movie.
I mean, it's iconic for a reason.
Do you have a favorite, like all-time favorite scene or like all-time favorite line?
I mean, it would have to be the scene where, like that we discussed earlier, where Nigel is showing Ian and the camera crew like his guitar collection and his amp that goes to 11. Like, it's just funny. And the Stonehenge scene.
Yeah.
And then there's also this performance scene where they're in these pods.
I was waiting for you to say that. The eggs.
They're in these like eggs and they emerge from them, and they're a bassist gets stuck in the egg.
And they cannot get him out, like, no matter what they try to do.
Yeah, like, there's, like, people going in with, like, with, like, torches.
And, like, jackhammers and stuff like that.
And when he finally is able to get out, the song is over.
Yeah, and they all, like, go back into their pods, and he's, like, trying to get back into his, and he gets stuck.
That part is also really funny. I would say those are probably my 3 highlights of the film. But then every time you watch it, you pick up on something else that's really funny.
Totally. My all-time favorite scene is when they're playing a show and they're like, all right, the audience is cheering for them. They're like, we want Spinal Tap. And they're like, all right, guys, we left him waiting long enough. And they're going to walk to the stage and they don't know how to get there.
Yeah, they get lost.
They get lost
backstage.
Underneath the stage and they keep trying to like hype themselves up. They're like, all right, hello, Cleveland, rock and roll. And they're like genuinely so lost. I have to like get a janitor and like be like, okay, wait, where are we? And the janitor's like giving them directions and they turn the corner and they just like keep going in circles the whole time.
What's so funny too is that is the scene that the most like famous rock stars have commented on, saying watching that is so funny because they're like every band has had some weird backstage situation where they can't find their way to the stage.
I bet.
Like apparently that's like a big thing in these types of venues.
That is so, but yeah, you're so right. Like this movie is the kind of film where like you watch it once and you're like, oh, that was funny. And then the more you watch it,
the funnier it gets.
Yeah. I mean, like, again, I've seen this movie maybe like 12 times now.
Same, probably.
And I like am on the floor laughing every single time.
It's too good.
It's just hilarious. And in terms of like parody and like satire, it is so well done.
Mm-hmm.
Like so well done.
It's so well done because it feels so legitimate. If not for kind of the even slightly underplayed ridiculousness of the characters, it feels like a real documentary. It feels like a music documentary.
No, exactly. And what we were saying before with like, it really was the first like mockumentary, and it's such a popular genre nowadays. Mm-hmm. Like, especially in comedy, like mockumentaries in other senses kind of work, and like Blair Witch type thing.
Yeah, but look at even like documentary now.
Yeah, which I love.
It's so funny, but something like that definitely wouldn't have existed without Spinal Tap.
No, and in fact, they actually have an episode that's very similar to Spinal Tap,
yes.
About their own like band kind of documentary. But you're so right. And again, like shows like Parks and Rec or like The Office that are like so known to be like these mockumentary type styles. Like, would they even exist had it not been for Rob Reiner and Spinal Tap?
Who's to say? But I think you can definitely attribute Spinal Tap's influence to those shows. But yeah, no, just a really enjoyable watch. You know what? I might even give Spinal Tap a 7.5.
See, this movie just means so much to me personally because like my whole family loves it. A lot of my friends love it. So it's like, again, that inside joke kind of thing. But objectively, it's just so good. I have to give it a 10 out of 10.
Fair
like
enough.
Top movie.
Fair enough.
Some of my top movies ever.
That's fine. I mean, our next film, I am about to rate a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll give my rating away now. So, our next film is an all-time favorite of mine. It is Galaxy Quest from 1999. Mm-hmm. It's a sci-fi comedy that was directed by Dean Pariseau and written by David Howard and Robert Gordon. This movie means a lot to me. And I'm really excited that we watched it for this.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it before. I knew we were going to watch it for the podcast. And then Olivia was like, wait, I'm sorry. We have to watch it right now together.
We were like chilling one night and we were looking for something to watch and like, oh, something lighthearted, something fun. Mm-hmm. And then I think earlier that day we were talking about how you hadn't seen Galaxy Quest yet. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, that would be the perfect thing to watch. And because you can't watch this movie and come away not loving it. It's just one of those like truly charming, wonderful, well-paced, well-acted films that you'd be pretty hard-pressed to not like. And this is the thing. It is a parody of Star Trek and kind of widely a parody of a lot of the things that Star Trek went on to inspire.
Yeah, definitely. Again, like those sci-fi, especially like those older TV shows and stuff like that.
But you don't have to be a Star Trek fan to enjoy Galaxy Quest. I'd probably more of a Star Wars person than a Star Trek person.
I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever watched Star Trek in my life.
Yeah.
But I love Star Wars.
Same.
Yeah.
But I've seen some Star Trek, but like it doesn't have a special place in my heart. But this does. Galaxy Quest does. And I think just as someone who I guess identifies as a nerd and has a lot of nerdy interests, like video games or comic books or whatever, or even like for someone who just has a love for something that was created in the media or pop culture or whatever, this is a movie for you.
Yeah, I think you described it as like it's a love letter to like kind of like fandoms and stuff like that. And like again, like I'm a huge fangirl. I like have my nerdy interests too, and I like go all in on them. So seeing a movie like this where like the fans are kind of the heroes is a really, really sweet. I also think this movie is out of the 3 movies we've watched, this movie has more of like the most heart.
I would say so too. It's less of like a straight silly comedy.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's hilarious. Like this movie is so funny.
But it's like an action adventure movie also with a heart.
Yeah, I feel like Tropic Thunder and Spinal Tap in comparison to Galaxy Quest are a little bit more just kind of like pure satire, jokes whenever we can put them, and the plot kind of comes second.
Yes.
Whereas this movie, I think, follows more of a linear plot and has more, again, like emotional scenes.
Definitely.
And the comedy is kind of like intertwined with that, as opposed to the comedy makes the plot take a back seat.
Exactly. No, that's such a good way to put it. The director and writers have described the film, like we said earlier, as like a love letter to fan culture and a love letter to nerds because they themselves are Star Trek nerds. And so this film is a parody, but it comes from a place of love, and that is just so clear throughout. So Galaxy Quest initially premiered in December 1999 as a wide release. It was distributed by DreamWorks Pictures, and it was a box office success. It received generally favorable reviews. It grossed $91 million worldwide on a $45 million budget. Apparently, there was some controversy with the marketing behind the film. The studio did not prioritize it in their slate, and the film received like a really limited marketing campaign, so much so that the head of marketing at DreamWorks actually personally apologized to the director of the film.
Wow.
Yeah, like after seeing it, because he was just like, I realize now that like we should have basically put more money and attention into this project, and we didn't. But the movie was good enough to get viewers by word of mouth. And
yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't really seem like it affected that much. That's crazy that the head of DreamWorks apologized. That must have been a really big mess up.
So the film opens 17 years after the conclusion of a hit 1980s space adventure series called Galaxy Quest. The lead actors of this show have kind of been reduced to attending fan conventions and making promotional appearances. Like they haven't really found success since the show ended.
Yeah, which I feel like is very accurate for like a lot of these like
kind of like niche television shows.
Niche television shows with like big fandoms.
Yes. And it's probably just because it's so hard for fans to see those actors as any other type of character.
Totally.
So a lot of times like those kind of actors will get like typecast or shoehorned into certain roles. But yeah, no, here they do convention appearances. They do like store openings where they like put on the costumes and say the lines and none of them really seem to get too much out of it, except the series' lead star, Jason Nesmith, who, like, loves all the attention.
Yeah, he's clearly, like, high school guy living his glory days. He is played by Tim Allen, who plays this douchey, like, kind of, like, washed-up Hollywood star so well.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of Tim Allen, but him in this movie
Perfectly cast.
Yes, he is amazing.
The rest of the ensemble is rounded out by his former co-stars, Gwen DeMarco, who's played by Sigourney Weaver, Alexander Dane, who is played by Alan Rickman, he's like a Shakespearean actor that hates that he's been reduced to like the alien guy in the sci-fi show.
Yes.
Like he wants to play King Lear. And
he's played Richard III.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fred Kwan, who is played by Tony Shalhoub, and Tommy Weber, who is played by Daryl Mitchell. And they all resent Jason for being the star of the show and for kind of like being okay with what they have to do all the time, like these conventions.
Yeah, they're mad at him, one, because like you said, they're doing these conventions, but also because Tim Allen's character clearly is like
the star.
Yeah, he's the one who people are really there to see the most, if that makes sense. And
like
so,
when they do signings, like he gets his own table.
yes, and like they always have to wait for him, and he's always late, and sometimes he books appearances without them, and they're kind of like, hey, we're already annoyed that we have to do this in general. If we're doing it, we're all doing it together.
Yeah.
Like, it's not your show, it's our show.
So at a comic book convention, Jason is approached by a group of weirdos in costumes that are calling themselves the Thermians. And he thinks that they're cosplayers who like want him for a promotional appearance. They're like saying like, you have to help us like save the galaxy.
Yes.
And he's like, oh yeah, you're those guys I like signed the thing for. Like, yeah, I'm doing your like promotional appearance tomorrow. And the next morning, they show up at his house.
Still dressed in their, like, space attire.
Yes. And he's so hungover that he just kind of goes with it. He doesn't grasp that these people are actual aliens who are, they're not driving him to, like, their, like...
Comic-Con
yeah,
thing.
it's like their, like, group, to their, like, nerd gathering. They're transporting him to a working recreation of the NSEA Protector, which is the starship from Galaxy Quest, the show.
Yes. Jason, once they arrive on the spaceship, he believes that they're still on a set. Like, he's like, oh, cool, you recreated the set. Like, that's so awesome. And he performs in character as he confronts the Thermians' enemy, Ceres.
Yeah.
Who is, like, the most goofy, like, sci-fi villain ever. And I love it. He's, like, a big lizard bug.
Kinda, yeah. And it's all done with practical effects that like move.
Look gorgeous.
Yeah, like there's like bits where like his ears kind of close and open. Like he has these like wings that flip out and go back. Like his prosthetic design is so good and like kind of like it's a little goofy looking, but it's goofy looking in the way that like the Star Trek villains are goofy looking.
Right. And Ceres's character is like so one-dimensionally super villain, and like that's the point. That's like the parody of these like types of shows and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of effects in this movie, some like digital and some practical. I think the practical look amazing.
So good.
And I think the digital actually hold up pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's obviously it was made in 1999. Like they're
right, it's not perfect.
No, but they're believable enough that it doesn't completely take you out of the movie.
Yes. So Ceres demands that the Thermians and Jason, who is like pretending to be their commander, hands over the Omega-13, which is a super secret weapon with unknown capabilities mentioned in the show's finale, but it was never shown on screen. So no one knows what it does, and they don't even know if it exists, really.
Yeah.
Giving perfunctory orders, Jason manages to temporarily subdue Ceres. He's basically like, just blow everything you got at them. And he like destroys Ceres' ship, thinking that he's killed him. But again, Jason thinks this is all fake.
Yeah, like he thinks he's like role playing with like a group of rich weirdos. Kind of. The Thermians are like incredibly grateful that like this great commander has helped them, and they transport him back to Earth via like, I don't even know how to explain it. They like coat him in a gel and shoot him into space.
Yeah,
like,
they basically like cannonball him, like,
yeah,
or not cannonball. They basically like slingshot him back to Earth.
Yes. And Jason obviously arrives back on Earth like, wait, oh my God, I was in space. Like,
yeah. Wait, that was real?
There's this great like little detail, which again just shows like the love and another kind of thing that just shows that there was a lot of love and care that went into this film. When it's revealed to Jason that he's actually in space, like there's this great shot where like these doors open onto just like empty space.
Yes.
The aspect ratio changes really slightly.
I noticed that, and when I first watched it, I was like, did my eyes just like deceive me?
No, it's like a blinker, you miss it, and it just like widens the screen ever so slightly, and which does kind of give the rest of the movie a more cinematic vibe.
Totally.
And I like that it was the perfect moment for that change to happen.
Yeah. So when Jason realizes like this experience was real, he's really like thrilled. Like he kind of realizes this is again a way to relive his glory days. He goes to his fellow cast members and convinces them to join him when the Thermians come back and they're like, hey, Sarah survived and we need your help again. They believe that Jason is talking about like a gig that he has booked without them. So that's why they're going, but they don't believe him when he says that it's real. They think he's completely lost his mind. But again, they're like, hey, well, if you're having a gig, like we want in on it.
Yeah.
So they are all catapulted into space.
Now aboard the Protector, the cast learn that the Thermians, who possess no concept of fiction, they believe that episodes of Galaxy Quest are true historical documents from Earth. And they've been so inspired by like the lessons taught in the show and the adventures that the crew have been on that they have based their entire society around the virtues of the show and like recreated exactly the spaceship from the show.
Yeah.
And this is another just like a detail that I love. Again, when the director says that the film is a love letter to fans, that's what the Thermians are. Like they're fans. And there's also, just have to really quickly recommend, Screen Junkies did a documentary of Galaxy Quest on Galaxy Quest a few years ago, and the writers, the actors, everyone involved in the film comes back to talk about it. It is just a joy to watch and to see all the passion that went into it.
Yeah, it's a very, again, like heartwarming movie in a lot of ways. Also, I have to include so the original crew is sent back to the ship, and also sent in is one of like what you can only assume is like Comic-Con's like MC.
It's this guy whose name is Guy. He's played by Sam Rockwell,
who I'm obsessed with. I
Same.
love Sam Rockwell in like everything.
Oh, me too, girl. And this was like his first big role.
Yeah, when I tell you, when you said he was in this movie, I was like, I'm sad. Like, I don't even care how bad or good this movie is. I love Sam Rockwell, so I'm watching this.
Such a valid reason to watch any movie. I will also watch anything Sam Rockwell's in.
But he's like also, he was like in the original Galaxy Quest in like one episode.
Yeah, he was like an extra that died.
Yeah, and he's like literally trying to hold on to that like 2 seconds of fame.
Yeah.
He literally like at the Comic-Con is like, maybe I could grab a chair and sign autographs with you guys. It's like, buddy, no one knows who you are. So he insists on coming with because he wants to like be part of the group. And then his reaction specifically when they realize that this is real and they're actually in space is like my favorite.
Yeah, he's pretty hysterical throughout the entire film. So Saris returns and demands the Omega-13 device, which still no one knows where it is or what it does. He attacks the Protector again, and the ship barely escapes. They go through a magnetic minefield and hit almost every single mine. Like,
right, because the guy driving the ship doesn't actually know how to drive a spaceship.
Yeah,
like,
he just played a guy who knows how to drive a spaceship.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just like absolutely destroy the ship. It goes hysterically bad. The ship's power source, which is a beryllium sphere, is severely damaged. So they have to travel to a nearby planet and they steal a replacement sphere from these like little children alien monsters.
Yes, that's another hilarious scene. Like at first they're like, oh, they're kind of cute, and then they like literally rip one of their own like to shreds.
Right.
Like,
and who is it that it's Sam Rockwell's character, who when Sigourney Weaver is like, oh my god, like they're so cute, he's like, have you ever seen an episode of the show?
Right.
Like when things are cute, they get monstrous in like a second. Like, are you kidding?
Yeah, and he's like so convinced. He's like, this is where I die. This is where I die. Because he thinks he's like gonna repeat history in like some sort of way. It's oh my god, it's hilarious.
So the other crew members manage to escape, but Jason is temporarily stranded on this planet, and he has to fend off this like giant rock creature until the others rescue him. They return to the Protector and discover that Saris has seized control of the ship and captured Mathazar, who's like the really kind-hearted, like sweet leader of the Thermians.
Yeah, he's the one who like originally kind of like recruits Jason and is like kind of the person that we follow as like we're watching the crew learn more about the Thermians.
Yes.
And he's so sweet.
He's so sweet.
And he clearly like he has a very like childlike kind of personality
Yes.
to him.
Most of the Thermians are kind of shown to be a little like a little childlike.
They also adore the Galaxy Quest crew. So they kind of look at them with this like admiration.
It's so cute.
It's very sweet. So yeah, Mathazar getting captured was very sad. I actually wrote no.
Jason confesses to Mathazar that like they're just actors. They're not space adventurers, and Saris forces him to like explain that in a really horrible way, and you can see Mathazar just like disintegrate. So I do have a fun fact about this scene. Apparently the relationship between Alan Rickman and Tim Allen actually kind of mirrored their characters.
Okay.
Where Alan Rickman is obviously a classically trained serious actor, and Tim Allen is not known to be the most serious actor, and apparently on set was more lackadaisical about things. And for this scene, the director really pushed Tim Allen into this space of emotionality, and he found the scene very taxing. And when it was over, he like was a little teary and a little like emotional from doing this scene. And he said something about how like, wow, like that took a lot out of me. That was rough. And Alan Rickman famously goes, "It's called acting."
I can so imagine Alan Rickman and his like almost like Professor Snape type like judgment.
But that is also very much the character that he's playing in this movie.
Totally.
Who's an actor who is very self-serious. So it's just funny to see that dynamic actually was their dynamic.
I have to say, just because we're talking about him, Alan Rickman is like, I think this whole cast is good. Some I prefer more than others.
Same.
Like
some are more, I don't know. Sigourney Weaver is great. Like she's great in everything. I wouldn't say that she's given like the most interesting character.
Totally.
But she does hit comedic
like
beats when she's asked
the
to.
weakest link in my opinion.
I would say so too.
And like, but I also don't know if it was a different actress, would it be better or worse? I think it's just like the nature of the character she has.
I would kind of agree with you. I think she hits comedic beats when she needs to.
But Alan Rickman like stands out as a highlight.
Absolutely.
And it's just so funny because like we've obviously seen how amazing he is in dramatic roles, but seeing him in like a comedy like this is just so refreshing.
It is, and he's great.
He's great. He's amazing.
Saris activates the protector self-destruction mechanism and returns to his ship, leaving the cast and all of the Thermians to die on their ship. Jason and Gwen contact this kid, Brandon.
Played by Justin Long.
This is my favorite sequence in the film.
It's so great. First of all, I think Justin Long is like maybe 19 in this movie. He looks so young.
He looks so young, and he is perfect in this role.
Perfectly cast.
Absolutely perfectly cast. So Jason and Gwen contact Brandon, Justin Long, who is the leader of a group of Galaxy Quest super fans. Like he's basically like the head of the fan club.
Yes.
And he goes to all the conventions and always has these like really intricate questions.
He knows everything about like the model of the ship, and he knows everything about the history of the show and everything. Earlier in the movie, he goes up to Tim Allen and is like asking him all these questions about like in episode 2, you know,
you say this, but then in episode 28, you say this. And Tim Allen's like, "Kid, I cannot help you."
He's like, "I don't even remember what you're talking about."
Yeah. So they basically recruit Brandon and his like group of geeky friends to help them navigate the ship and how to abort the self-destruct sequence in just a truly hilarious sequence of events. You see Justin Long contacting his friends like, "It's an emergency, guys. Like, come on."
They're all on their like MySpace, like I am video chat things.
Exactly. But that's, again, what's so great about the film is the nerds are, yes, used for comedic relief, but they help save the day.
No, they literally are the reason like why the heroes win.
Exactly. And it's like, that isn't that just every super fan's dream, is that one day they'll call you and say, "It's all real."
Yeah.
Like, it's all real and we need your help.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, it's just so cool and cute and nice. I don't know.
No, you're waiting for that. Like when you're,
Exactly.
especially when you're like a kid and you're like a
Right?
super fan, you are like, put me in, coach. Like I'm ready to go.
Exactly. Like what 11-year-old like didn't wait for their Hogwarts letter?
Oh, yeah. I actually was never really that big of a Harry Potter fan. I was
Really?
waiting for like the Avengers phone call.
Oh, I see that for you.
Yeah, but I totally know what you mean. Like it's just such a little kid thing.
Yeah.
Or it's just such a super fan thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So while that's happening, Alexander is leading a group of Thermians to revolt against Ceres's forces, and they take back control of the ship.
So with this now like renewed confidence, the crew challenges Ceres and draws his ship into that same minefield that we saw earlier, except now
Now, like,
the crew has kind of settled into their roles. They are more experienced. So they end up destroying Ceres' ship. As the ship is returning to Earth with the Galaxy Quest crew, Ceres, who has escaped his own ship's destruction, sneaks aboard and ambushes them on the bridge and fatally shoots several of the crew members. Jason activates the Omega-13, which earlier in the movie, he's talking to Brandon about like, well, what does it even do? And Brandon's like, everyone believes that it could destroy the universe, but actually there's like a fan theory that it can send you back 13 seconds in time, which I guess why it's called Omega-13.
Exactly. And Jason's answer is like, well, what good would that even do? Like, it's such a negligible amount of time.
Right.
But in this case, it's actually the perfect amount of time.
Yeah.
And he activates it and sends everyone 13 seconds back in time, which gives Jason and Mathazar the chance to subdue Ceres before he can attack them.
Exactly. So the Protector's Bridge separates from the main vessel to return the crew to Earth, while the main vessel carries all the Thermians back into space. And this is a very sweet scene where like Jason, Mathazar is like, oh, I was hoping you guys would stay with us. Like, we need a commander. And Jason's like, but they have a commander and it's you, Mathazar. And you're like, oh, go, Mathazar, go.
Oh, I love this movie so much.
It's so sweet. So the Protector Bridge crashes into the Galaxy Quest convention. Perfect crash site. Like, they're not even steering this thing at this point. It is literally just hurtling towards Earth.
And it's the best. They contact the nerds to basically set up like a landing strip outside of the convention.
Yes.
And like usher the space vessel back to Earth. It's like, it's just a great sequence. It feels so heroic and like happy.
Yeah. It's such a great shot when Brandon is like standing there and the spaceship flies underneath him and his face is literally like, it's like Harry Potter like seeing Hogwarts for the first time. He's like totally blown away that what he's seeing is real.
So they crash into the convention.
Like literally into the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like come out and everyone thinks it's a performance. And they assume it's like a special effects display and erupt into applause. And then the crew like basks in their newfound glory. Sometime later, we find out that Galaxy Quest has been revived as a sequel series, Galaxy Quest: The Journey Continues, and the cast is all reprising their original roles with Guy as a new cast member.
Yeah, I loved this movie. First of all, I think there's so many like great jokes that we just like didn't include for time, but like one of my favorite characters is Tony Shalhoub's character.
Yeah,
he's kind of like stoned throughout the whole thing.
So he just goes with everything.
Yeah, he's like not freaking out, totally chill. He has a great romance with one of the female Thermians that's like hilarious. But I like this movie, one, because it's like, you know, in parody, it is a good parody, but like it really has such a sweet, endearing like message and a very like heartfelt kind of tone throughout the whole movie.
100%. It's not a mean parody.
No.
Where I would say something like Tropic Thunder and even Spinal Tap to an extent have a lot more bite than this does.
I feel like they, especially Tropic Thunder, they call out what they're making fun of. Whereas this is, yes, kind of teasing shows like Star Trek and stuff like that with like, you know, the cheesy villains and the cheap effects and the, you know, even the like Sigourney Weaver's character is like such a nothing, like almost like a token female character.
Yes, there's also a great ongoing joke where as they fall more into their roles on the ship in real life, like they start to become their characters.
Totally.
Her shirt gets like ripped lower and lower.
Yeah, it's like unzipped to like basically where her top is just open at the end.
Yeah, and she had complained earlier about like her character just being there to like have a pair of boobs around.
Right.
And it's like it's just funny as they fall more into the characters that like she becomes like more sexy.
Yes. And again, like even her character is like teasing shows like that where it's like you just had the female character to be like the love interest or to be hot. But nothing about this, again, has like a bite to it. It's very much a love letter. And again, it's really for kids who like grew up watching those shows because it's like, hey, if this is real, like you guys are the MVP. Like you would be the one to solve the mystery or, you know, fix the problem.
Which I love it so much. I feel like when I've told quite a few people how much I love this movie. Like this is in my Letterboxd top 4. Like that's
wow.
No, this like it's one of my favorite films. When I tell people that, they're often like really surprised because my taste is typically more like quote unquote artsy, and I
definitely
and I'm often drawn to things with like maybe like a darker or weirder subject matter. Like I tend to like films that are, I don't know, if I hear that a film is controversial in any way, I want to watch it.
Yeah, when you told me you were a fan of Zoolander, I was like, that does not check out for you even a little bit.
I know, but I do love a good comedy. And then something like this, I just think it's a perfect film. I think it is perfectly written, so well acted, so well paced. It's exactly what it was meant to be. It's fun, heartfelt, like funny. It's just everything you want out of a movie like this. And I truly don't have any faults with it. It's a 10 out of 10 film for me, which I know is surprising for me because I'm such a hater, but you can't hate this movie.
No, you definitely can't hate this movie. Would I call it a perfect movie? No.
That's totally fine.
Which like, yeah, no, I mean, you gave Spinal Tap, what, a 7.5, 8 out of 10. I think we were flipped on that. I gave this movie a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. Again, I loved it. I'll totally watch it again. I watched it with my friend the other night to take notes on it, and like we were just like cracking up. We thought it was great. I think out of all 3 movies, Spinal Tap is still my favorite.
That is totally fair. I'm also like, I loved all 3 movies we watched. I had such a great time this week watching these movies, and I'm really happy that, I don't know, I got to like relive some of the laughs. But yeah, no, Galaxy Quest would be my top pick of the episode, definitely.
I agree with you, though. I had so much fun watching these movies this week. I highly, highly implore everyone watching to please check out at least one of the 3, but really all 3. Next week, we will be watching Wealth on film.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. We're watching Metropolitan, The Wolf of Wall Street, and Parasite, which I think is an interesting mix.
I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm excited for this topic.
Me
I have
too.
a lot to say on it, and I have a lot to say on the 3 movies we're watching.
Same.
In relation to how wealth is shown in movies.
I know. I'm really excited.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening this week, everybody.
Thank you. And we hope that you'll, watch along with us and then join us again next week.
I'm Maggie.
I'm Olivia.
Bye.
Bye.